Floret's chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. A delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water.
Cool. Yeah, dial it back for a minute to the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do, cause when I come through I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
Floret's chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath. Floret's chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath. Florets chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath. Florets chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Very well. My name is Fred. IT Hello.
Hello, friend, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Florets chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Bola Jimmy. Where is Bola Ho? Fred, can you hear me? Fred.
Hello, Bola. Hello,
Fred,
Bola. Yeah,
Fred, can
Uche.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay. Are you talking to the other people?
Yes, I was trying to talk to the woman to find out if she could hear me, but it looks like she cannot hear me, so I'm trying to get her number so I can talk to her. But she cannot hear me. Have you I'm trying to see if she can hear me. Oh my, this sec woman, do you have her number? Yeah. So how do we reach out to her? Because she cannot hear us. What is her name?
Hello?
Madam Amina. Eh?
Hello?
Madam Amina Tanko, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes,
Okay,
can
good
you hear
morning.
loud and clear? Good
Yeah.
morning. Can you also see the screen which says that meeting starts at 10 a.m.?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay, okay. Just trying to
So,
test to see if you're fine. Yeah,
okay, fine. So it starts at 10, yeah?
it starts at 10 here.
All right, so see you
Fred,
then.
is that her now? Can she hear me?
Yes,
Hi,
she cannot hear me.
hi, this is Sunil. Can you guys hear me?
Fred, let her speak.
Yeah,
Fred, let
hold on,
her
hold on.
speak so we can hear her. Fred, hold on.
Listen, listen, listen. These things, there's a lag, so hold on, just one by one. Just take time. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, how you going?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. I'm fine. Thanks for joining. Can you hear me very well?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm also going to ask them, my colleagues at the streaming bench, to also try and reach out to you and see if you can hear them. Okay.
Hey, Frederick. Hi, this is Sunil. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sunil, I can also hear you very well. Yes.
You?
I'm going to ask my colleagues at the streaming bench to find out if they can hear you. But Sunil, I cannot see your image, your picture.
No, I haven't turned on the video. Been having some trouble
What
with
then on
the
the video?
camera.
Okay. Okay.
And Nigel, you're looking very sharp.
Okay, that's fine. Uche,
Yeah,
Uche at the streaming bench. Can you say something to confirm so that
Hello,
Nigel will check whether he can hear you. Uche at the streaming bench. Can you say something?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you too.
Okay, we can hear you from the venue as well.
Okay, thank you, Uche. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Mrs. Adam, Miss Adam from SEC, did you hear Uche?
Yes, yes, I did.
You did? Okay, that's fine. So it means you're good with
Good morning, Amina. Thank you very much.
everybody.
This is Fola Akonde.
Yeah, Fola, good morning.
Morning. Thank you so much for dialing in early.
So, Uche,
You'll just be in the waiting room.
I think you can continue with adverts for now, and then when we're ready, we go live. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Ranka shi daɗe.
Being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
Hello? Hola, Jimmy.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself.
No, we can't see her.
It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself.
Good morning, ma. Can you hear me, ma? Good morning, Mrs. Aoshika. Can you hear me, ma? Hola, Jimmy.
Kaushika, can you hear Uche? Or me?
I can hear somebody. I don't know who I can hear right now.
It's me, Fred.
Okay. I can see you,
Good,
Fred.
good morning, ma.
And
This is
I
Uche,
hear
ma. Can you hear Uche, ma? Uche
Yeah, I
of
can hear
Eventful.
Uche, yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. We can also hear you loud and clear. So
You can hear me loud and clear.
Okay.
So we're good to go then.
Okay. Well, you can mute your microphone for now, and then we continue with the adverts. So the meeting starts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will now have a safety briefing for all the attendees.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chairman, and the entire shareholders here present today this morning. My name is Bolaji Oyewo. I'm the Health, Safety, and Environment Manager for Cadbury Nigeria PLC. I formally welcome you to Cadbury premises for this annual 55th AGM of Cadbury Nigeria PLC. As our practice, it is important that we keep you aware of our safety requirements while on our site. And because we're very passionate about safety, two safety are very important to us, the safety of our product and the safety of our employees. So it is important that we give you this information so that it will assist you in staying safely while within Cadbury premises. The building where you are has 4 emergency exits. There is one at the back here. There is one position there, and we can as well use this open door as an emergency. Today, we don't plan to have any emergency drill. So if there is any alarm, it is real emergency. And we will need you to evacuate the building to our fire assembly point outside here. And so having done that, you are not expected to return back to the building until when the fire marshal, confirm it is safe to do so. For convenience, you might need to use convenience at the back of this banner. We have the conveniences for male and female, so you can just turn out and make use of the convenience if you need to. I will also need to inform you that 767 is the emergency number for Lagos State, and here, my number being the Corps safety personnel is 08023 257914. We also have a clinic on site. The clinic runs 24 hours. So if there is need while you're here to request for medical attention, the clinic is quite functional. In view of COVID-19 all over the world, I will advise also, and it is also required that we maintain social distance of at least 2 meters. Also, while here, we should make sure that we have our mask on. This is to prevent droppage or droplets and to keep the whole environment here well sanitized. It is also important that if you feel, I'm sure temperature has been taken, and we confirm that everybody here is COVID-19 free. So it is important that we do this so that our stay here can be much more result-oriented. If there is any need for any questions, we have our security personnel all around there, and I also stay in place if there is need for any help. Thank you very much, and have a good, wonderful annual general meeting. Thank you.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste. Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
Florets chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Okay, just to let you know that we have to wait for 10 o'clock, although all those we expect are in the room already, because there are many people who will be joining us online, and they have the right to join online at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock sharp, we will start the meeting.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. A delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water.
Back for a minute to the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do, cause when I come through I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
Florets chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3 in 1. A delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3 in 1. Just add hot water.
The power of cool. Yeah, dial it back for a minute to the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do. Cause when I come through, I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep it. I confirm from the, I think there's some microphones on that are causing an echo. I confirm from the registrar that we have a quorum in compliance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 10 o'clock. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the 55th Annual General Meeting of our company. We received the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission, subsequently endorsed by the SEC and the Nigerian Stock Exchange to conduct this AGM via proxies. This is as a consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the restriction imposed by the federal and state governments on the maximum number of persons that can be a gathering of this nature, currently limited to no more than 20 persons. Others joining us will therefore do so via proxy and or live streaming to our esteemed shareholders, regulators, and observers who are not physically present. As you can observe, as a responsible corporate citizen, your company has ensured compliance by taking the necessary health and precautionary measures as stipulated by the federal, state, regulatory, and health authorities. I confirm that the Register of Directors shareholding and the Register of Directors attendance at board meetings of the company are available for inspection as required by law. Before we proceed to transact the business on the agenda, let me introduce the members of the Board of Directors of your company. As you know, I am Atido Peterside, the chairman of your company. I joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria PLC as a non-executive director on 5th August 2009 and was appointed chairman of the board with effect from 21st April 2010. I will introduce my colleagues on the board. Each director present in the room is to stand up briefly on being introduced. I will go to the extreme right, Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, a director of the company. Mr. Sulaiman joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria Limited as a non-executive director on 5th August 2009, which is the same day I joined the board. Please sit down, Mr. I will now swing over to my left, Mrs. Oyeyimika Adeboye, the managing director of the company. Mrs. Adeboye joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria PLC as an executive director on 30 November 2008. That is before I joined the board, and attained the position of managing director on 1st April 2019 during my tenure as chairman. On her left is Mr. Ogaga Ologe, the finance director of the company. Mr. Ologe joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria PLC as an executive director on 1st April 2019. I will now go to directors who are not physically in the room, but who are with us online. And if, yes, I think we can see some of them. I can see on my right. So may I now call on Mrs. Ibuku Awoshika, the director of the company. Mrs. Awoshika is waving. She joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria PLC as at an NED on 22nd October 2009. Like I said, she's on the screen. She's not physically present. Also, I believe we have Mr. Sunil Patarasarati. Is he on the screen or we can't see him? The director of the
Hi,
company.
I'm here.
He's here, but you can hear his voice. He joined the board of Cadbury Nigeria PLC as an NED on 1st February 2018. We then also have Mr. Nigel Parsons, who is the director of the company. He joined as an NED on 1st of April 2020. Is Mr. Parsons available? Can we hear his voice if we can't see him?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, how you doing?
You're welcome, Mr. Parsons. I'm also pleased to introduce the lady on my right, Mrs. Fola Akonde, the company secretary, chief counsel of the company. You have the profiles of all the board members in the annual report. In line with the approval received from the Corporate Affairs Commission for attendance of the meeting by proxies, I would now like to make mention of the following individuals who have been appointed as proxies to represent shareholders who cannot be physically present at this meeting. The list includes myself, Atido Peterside, Mrs. Oyeyimika Adeboye, MD, Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje, and Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman. I also want to introduce the various professional parties who are working with and assisting our company, namely our external auditors, PwC, Mr. Oladele Oladipo, you're welcome. Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Godstein Iwenekai, you're welcome. The SEC, is that Amina Tanko? Amina Tanko is available online. The SEC is available online. The Corporate Affairs Commission has informed us that they will not be able to attend this meeting. I would also like to introduce our registrars, First Registrars Investment Services Limited, and the representative of the audit committee, Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje, representing the audit committee chairman, Pastor Lanre Awobode. I now call on the company secretary to read the notice of the meeting on page 6 of the annual report.
Notice of Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 55th Annual General Meeting of members of Cadbury Nigeria PLC will be held in the Learning and Development Center of the company, Latif Jakonde Road, Agidingbi, Ikeja, Lagos, on Wednesday, 24th of June, 2020, at 10 a.m. to transact the following business. Ordinary business. To lay before the meeting the audited financial statements of the company for the year ended 31st of December, 2019. The report of the directors, together with the reports of the auditors and the audit committee thereon. Secondly, to declare a dividend. Thirdly, to elect and re-elect directors retiring by rotation. Fourthly, to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the independent auditors. Fifthly, to elect members of the audit committee. Notes to the notice. Number 1, proxy. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, attendance at the AGM shall only be by proxy. A member entitled to attend and vote at the AGM is advised to select from the underlisted proposed proxies to attend and vote in his stead. Mr. Atedo Peterside, CON. Mrs. Oyeyimika Adeboye. Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, MFR. Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje. A proxy form was attached to the annual report. All instruments of proxy must be deposited at the registered office of the company or the office of the registrars, First Registrars and Investor Services Limited, number 2 Abebe Village Road, Igomu, or sent to info@firstregistrarsnigeria.com and ebusiness@firstregistrarsnigeria.com, Lagos, not later than 48 hours before the time for holding this meeting. All instruments of proxies shall be at the company's expense. Closure of register. In accordance with Section 89 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, the register of members and transfer book was closed from 25th of May 2020 to 29th of May 2020, both days inclusive, for the purpose of updating the register of members. Dividend payments. If the payment of dividend is approved at the meeting, the warrants or accounts of shareholders with the appropriate e-dividend mandate will be posted or credited on Thursday, 25th of June 2020, to holders of shares whose names appear in the register of members as at the close of business on 22nd May 2020. Unclaimed dividend warrants. Shareholders are hereby informed that some dividend warrants have been returned to the registrars as unclaimed, while some have neither been presented for payment nor to the registrars for revalidation. Affected members are by this notice advised to contact the registrars, First Registrars and Investor Services Limited, Plot 2, Abebe Village Road, Igomu, Lagos, for resolution. Election of the Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 359, subsection 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, any member or shareholder may nominate another shareholder as a member of the Audit Committee by giving written notice of such nomination to the Company Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. The Code of Corporate Governance by the Securities Exchange Commission indicates that some of the members of the Audit Committee should have basic financial literacy and be knowledgeable in internal control processes. In view of the same, we requested that nominations be accompanied by a copy of the nominee's curriculum vitae. E-dividend mandates. Shareholders are kindly requested to update their records and advise First Registrars and Investor Services Limited of their updated records and relevant bank accounts for payments of their dividends. Detachable forms in respect of mandate for e-dividend payments and shareholder data update are attached to the annual report for convenience. The forms can be downloaded from First Registrars and Investor Services Limited's website at www.firstregistrarsnigeria.com. The duly completed form should be delivered to First Registrars and Investor Services Limited, number 2 Abebe Village Road, Igomu, Lagos. The completed forms can also be submitted electronically to info@firstregistrarsnigeria.com. Rights of shareholders to ask questions. Pursuant to Rule 19.12, subsection C of the Nigerian Stock Exchange Rulebook 2015, please note that it is the right of every shareholder to ask questions not only at the meeting, but also in writing prior to the meeting. We urge that such questions be submitted to the Office of the Company Secretary not later than 1 week before the date of the meeting. Live streaming of the AGM live. The AGM will be streamed live online. This will enable shareholders and other stakeholders who will not be attending physically to follow the proceedings. The link for the AGM live streaming is available on the company's website at www.cadburynigeria.com. Dated this 6th day of May 2020, by order of the board.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you the chairman's statement, which you will find on page 16 in the annual report. I would like to take this report as read, since it was circulated to everybody physically and online, and also available on the website. Comments on the statement will be taken during the question and answer session after the laying of the accounts. The first item on our agenda for today is to lay before the meeting the financial statements of the company for the period ended 31st December 2019, and the report of the directors together with the reports of the auditors and the audit committee thereon. I now call on the external auditors to present their report. Please turn to page 63 of the annual report. The external auditors, please, PwC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The external audit report can be found on pages 63 to 68 of the annual report. With the permission of the shareholders and Mr. Chairman, I would like to limit my presentation to the report of the opinion on page 63 and the report on other legal and regulatory matters on page 68. Page 63, Independent Auditor's Report to the members of Cadbury Nigeria PLC. Report on the audit of the financial statements. Our opinion. In our opinion, Cadbury Nigeria PLC's financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the company as at 31st December 2019 and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act. Page 68. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Companies and Allied Matters Act requires that in carrying out our audit, we consider and report to you on the following matters. We confirm that, 1, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. 2, the company has kept proper books of accounts so far as appears from our examination of those books, and returns have been received from branches not visited by us. 3, the company's statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. Signed, Oladele Oladipo for PricewaterhouseCoopers, 18th of March 2020. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, PwC. I also call on the chairman of the audit committee, represented by Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje, to present the audit committee's report. Please turn to page 60 of the annual report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All protocol duly observed. Audit committee report is on page 60, and I read. Report of the audit committee. In compliance with section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria, we have 1, reviewed and ascertained that the accounting and reporting policies adopted by the company are in accordance with applicable legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. 2, reviewed the scope and planning of audit requirements and found them satisfactory. 3, appraised the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019 and are satisfied with the explanations. 4, reviewed the company's system of accounting and internal control and found them effective. 5, reviewed the external auditor's management report for the year ended 31st December 2019 and are satisfied that management is taking appropriate steps to address issues and comments noted in the report. The independent auditors confirmed management's full cooperation in the course of the performance of their duties and that they were not limited in any way by the company and its management. Signed by Pastor Oyela Kinlanri Awobodi, Chairman Audit Committee, FRC/2013/ANAN/00000003618, dated 18th March 2020. Members of the Audit Committee are 1, Pastor Oyela Kinlanri Awobodi, Chairman, Shareholders Representative. 2, Mrs. Mary Joke Shofolahon, Shareholders Representative. 3, Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje, Shareholders Representative. 4, Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, MFR, Directors Representative. 5, Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, Directors Representative. 6, Mr. Suni Pathasarati, Directors Representative. Attendance at the committee's meeting for the year 2019, held respectively on 23rd January 2019, 19th March 2019, 17th July 2019, and 21st October 2019 was as follows. Names of members: Pastor Oyela Kinlanri Awobodi, Chairman, attended all 4 meetings. Mrs. Mary Joke Shofolahon attended all 4 meetings. Mrs. Elizabeth Begbaje attended all 4 meetings. Mr. Suni Pathasarati attended all 4 meetings. Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, MFR, attended all 4 meetings. Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika attended all 4 meetings. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam. Ladies and gentlemen, I now lay the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019 before you. We shall now entertain some questions on the chairman's statement earlier presented as read, and the financial statements and the annual report for 2019. Can those having questions please signify by raising their hands, and we will call you. First introduce yourself as normal and continue. Okay, let me take the gentleman on my left. The beauty of this kind of meeting is that there's no struggle. Everybody whose hand is up will talk, I guarantee you. So, and to make it easy for you to prepare, after him will be Nono. Then after that we'll go like that. So you can take it easy and then listen to the questions that have already been raised, so that you raise different questions. Thank you very much, sir.
May I crave the indulgence of the chairman to lower this mask so that I can breathe? Okay. Excuse me, can somebody help me? I'm a bit taller than this. Oh. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, sir, members of the board, fellow shareholders, I'm a bit different from the protocol established by the external auditors. Maybe because I don't know which side of the board I will offend and they will descend on me. But I like the protocol established by the auditors. It first the shareholders, then the chairman, and then the other. That's a very good protocol. I want to come first, start on the lighter mood first. I think our board represents who is who and how loaded they are by their mask. They have very different kind of mask. The chairman was trying to draft everybody by so. Then I think the managing director, they came up strongly. Red is power. They try to forcefully underline that statement. And I won't know what happened, where the company secretary stands with is it to be noticed or not to be noticed? Then the other board members, at least they are trying to bring the peace offering. Then very, very good. But they are talking seriously. Cadbury is noted for standard. When we came in here, you see the different color, trying to showcase the standard and then the quality of the company. I expect you, COVID-19 or whatever, it's not going to end soon. I think mask, you should be able to showcase your standard with that kind of branding or mask. We have attended some companies and they try to do very good quality to the product they bring by the mask. Even sometimes when we come, we exchange our own for their own. Something. So I think going forward, we pray that COVID will go. But if it's not going, Cadbury should be able to come with a brand when it comes to the use of this hygienic thing during this time. Talking to the annual report and accounts, I want to start from page 2, the financial highlights. First, last year, I wasn't privileged to be present at the annual general meeting. I think due to traffic situation or something. But I was looking at the figures in the financial, and I found that they were all very impressive, except for one question I want to ask. I don't know, maybe because I'm a layman. I want to ask that the result from operating activities, I was wondering how your revenue shoot up and then that one came down. I don't know, but I'm a layman when it comes. But every other thing I was thinking that they were very good. I think it's showing a very good grasp of the business. And that is to be expected. The managing director knows our onions, and then she knows how to pick them. I think we should. But going forward, there's always room for improvement. Incidentally, this account, I paid closer attention to what the chairman said, not because the chairman is like a colossus in the financial landscape of Nigeria. But again, in the issue of politics too, I believe that he is a guru as well. I listened to his comments, whether on the tube or in the paper, because he knows what he's saying at any point in time. But in this case, on page 16, for example, I don't know why the chairman was saying that or agreed to what they have said before. And that paragraph started with, Page 16, I don't know. Please, can somebody help me? Page 16. Page 16. Okay. Okay, page 16. I think sometimes I don't know because English is not our language. So definitely me too. I'm still a student. But I'm looking at paragraph 3, page 16, starting. It's saying that the federal government decision to suddenly close our border, to suddenly. For anybody living in Nigeria, that decision couldn't have been a sudden one. It couldn't have been a sudden one. That decision to close the borders with our neighbor couldn't have been a sudden one. I think for historians, I think the chairman, maybe the chairman has something different or whatever, but that use of suddenly was not in tandem with what the issue was. And it doesn't show planning too on the company. What happened to your intelligent gathering? You can never be in this kind of climate and be oblivious to what is going on around you. I'm still talking on chairman's statement on page 17. I'm looking at when he say our brands. That's the only nothing. It's talking in terms of your marketing cost vis-a-vis your distribution cost. If they close the land border and then they are now using the sea port, definitely everybody knows there will be an attendant cost and maybe some other things, other costs will go along with it. Definitely. That one, I don't know, in rephrasing it or talking about for future, because this was already ancient history, I think we need to look at the way we do all those ones. Marketing definitely will come. There will be an increase in marketing. But then you don't have to be telling us. Those are the things that's why you are there. That's why we are not there. So now I'm still talking of chairman's statement too. And this one just want to ask question. The next paragraph, which talks about corporate social responsibility. I'm not worried about the CSR, what figure it is or what. But there's a statement, the first line, which saying that nutrition and healthy lifestyle program. What is that? Maybe that one will help us. Nutrition and healthy lifestyle program. What is that? So that we can go home with that too. Maybe it will help us. So that apart from COVID-19, post-COVID-19, we are still living. So that we will not have problem. Now I want to look at page 28. That one, it really comes to my heart. But it's going to be a lot of work too, to you, the management. Page 28. Yeah, page 28. Now, it's a picture. Now 40 candies in a bag. I like that. You know, pictures speak volumes. But again, there's a need to break it down so that people who are not used to dealing with them. 40 candies. Is there any place to know the contribution of these 40 candies to the table? Is it possible? I'm just asking if it is possible. This one, bring this one to the table, revenue, then we can now know the performance or what this addition to the tables. Okay? So it's not just enough that you have products. I know you have a very, very good product, but how are they faring? You may have a very good product, but it may not be bringing money to the table. So we want that we will not be able to judge how this one is faring in the market. So I want to, the performance in terms of figures, most of the time I don't like dealing with that. Why? Issue of annual reports is always post-mortem. And there are many people among us who are very good at that kind of exercise more than I do. I like to look at the one that can bring additional money and that one. So at this point, I want to thank you for the privilege of inviting me. Not only that, I want to put it on record. The work that the company secretary did. Personally, I don't like committee meetings, if I can help it. Because there's nothing, I won't come to your office without appointment. So this one is a statutory one that I decide to go or not to go. But she made every effort for me to be present. She did, and for all of us. I want to put it on record. She did well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. They will clean the microphone before the next person comes there. So don't worry. Okay. Mr. Okezie, please sit down. Please sit down, yes. You were not called. We said we are going from left to right. You wait for your turn. We are going like this. Over to you, Nono. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Other members of the board, very distinguished fellow shareholders, both those in person at this meeting and those at home or offices. Mr. Chairman, let me...
Sorry, no. Please go nearer to the loudspeaker and speak louder.
Okay.
Those online have been complaining about the sound volume.
Okay.
Okay, try and speak louder.
First, I want to observe that when the directors were introduced, I didn't realize that Mrs. Awoshika has been fraternizing with some politicians, probably from a distance, because she was flagging and waving like a politician. And I said, no, this woman have... But given that there's so much politics happening in Ibadan, I will not be surprised that she's picked up a few of what they are doing. Okay, she's even hearing me. Madam. But I think to the account, Okay, well
done. Time for you.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to observe that going by the account, I must thank you for being generous. If Chief Dr. Suleiman was not at this meeting, I probably would have said more. But looking at page 19, page 20, and page 30 of this account, I can confirm that he's your running mate. But you've been generous in sharing and not taking all the assets to yourself alone. So I want to thank you for being generous. But to the account, I would basically be looking at three major legs in terms of what the account that has been presented. First, I find on page 19, you talked about hungry for more.
Sorry, your page and ours is not the same. Page 19 is a photograph.
Oh, sorry. Page 14, rather. Page 14 talks about hungry for more. Am I correct? That is the advert from our parent company. No, page 11. The lettering are small, really, so you have to... it talks about hungry for more. And then if you go further, I think page 18, it talks about we producing... On page 18, it talks about our desire to launch new products. And if you take those in context of where we are coming from, what then that hits me is the fact that how do we relate this to our backward integration processes? because the product that we do have, for me and from my understanding, that the more value that we add, the chances of even getting much more becomes much more reliable. So I'll be asking, what more can we do in terms of value addition to extraction of cocoa rather than just exporting the liquid? Because one of the things I find, cocoa liquor is being exported. As I'm asking, can we improve on the value addition much more and have much more of it produced here as finished product, and then that will help our export position? That is my first major area of concern. The second major area of concern has to do with what I also find on page 107. On page 107, we have new assets of 1.7 billion in the year under review. And a good size of that is basically in work in progress. So I'm asking, what aspect of work in progress is the 1.12 billion sitting in? Again, because I'm interested as to the future of what the company can do with the resources available to them. I must also say that in that regard, I am not comfortable with receivables. For the inventory, one can understand, because if you have a situation where you are not too certain as to your forex availability, if you build up your inventory to the level that we have done, one will understand. But for receivables, I am not too sure that I'm comfortable with your receivables, because our receivable currently is standing at over 10% of our revenue. And that, for me, I think so. I'll be hoping that some explanation will be given as to what we're doing with our receivables. I talked about we adding value to cocoa, but I'll also be interested as to what is it that we can do in producing gum in Nigeria. Because if you look at page 120, we have a situation where we spent over 1.1 billion in importation of chewing gum in 2 years. Yes, this is coming from one of the subsidiaries of our parent company. But the more of that we can produce here, the less the pressure on our foreign exchange. And if we also need to export excess capacity, if we get to that point, then it also means that we'll be earning foreign exchange. So what is it that we can do? I'm asking all of this because, like I said earlier, work in progress is unclear to me as to what the emphasis is, and that's basically why I'm asking them. I also find on the same page 120, having to pay for technical persons who are in Nigeria to assist in the running of the business. I'll be interested. Do we also have Nigerians who are in other countries on whom we are also earning technical fee in terms of pay? So that, again, we begin to understand the balance that is coming on the table. Generally, I think that what I find in terms of margin, intermediate products still have a relatively higher margin. But I am not comfortable with even the margin that is coming with it. And that's why the emphasis on what we can do and do more with cocoa. But interestingly, when I walked in this morning, I find one of your banners saying, bond factor. And interestingly, I know that bond is a small stream. So when you talk about small factor, I begin to wonder what exactly the message that you are trying to deliver. Because first, I will read it as English, not as a marketing. So what is it that we are trying to say out there will also be important. I also think, with due respect, that one of the things that will also help has to do with the fact that going forward, this account should not just talk about complaint processes. It should list the complaints that have been made, if any. And if there's none, it should also say no complaints were. So again, the assessment of that process will also be better understood. Similarly, while thanking the board and management for the fact that in the year under review, no kobo was paid to any bank, notwithstanding that 2 persons on our board sits on other banks. We didn't pay any money in terms of interest that I think is good. However, this board must work around the issue of royalty. Okay. Yes, one of the answers I know that the chairman will give, because they give us technical support and all of that. And I've looked at countries that are big like Nigeria and what royalty some of these big organizations also pay to the technical. And I don't think we should be encouraging the size of, more especially that we pay royalty, we pay staff exchange program, we pay, let's begin to look at, before the clamor for, don't pay any royalty to this size begin to come on the table. I also think that going forward, on page 114, and I think this is an assignment that I will want the company secretary and the registrar, much more of the company secretary. There you indicate the history of payment, but you are not indicating the amount that is paid in any of those years. Okay, what is the share, the dividend that was paid in those years will help. But much more of note is that nowhere in this account will you find any narration about unclaimed dividend. And since an unclaimed dividend is a liability, I want the registrar, our auditors to also make sure that this is an item that is highlighted. Because if you read the chairman's statement, interestingly, on page 18, chairman, by the way, they don't send dividend warrants again. They pay straight into your account. You're talking about dividend warrants. So if we get that, then it helps us to begin to ask questions as to how the unclaimed dividends will be better addressed. Also, for our marketing, very many times what we put out there in public domain is that we sell a product. But given the uniqueness of the product that we sell, Bonvita, I will be wanting the company to emphasize much more the advantage of cocoa in human life than talking about Bonvita. Yes, some persons know that Bonvita is made from cocoa, but the impact of the advantage of cocoa in human life is not that much appreciated. So maybe for us as blacks, because it's with us. So let's begin to find a way around having to present Bonvita not just only as a beverage drink, but as a cocoa base and what cocoa also brings to our life. Mr. Chairman, I know that we haven't had too many people leave the board, but one thing that is also becoming obvious in our corporate life, which is an area that you've shown interest in, and I'm sure you are still showing interest in, notwithstanding that, by the way, I think we should thank you for not abandoning this ship, because you left the other ones and then you relocated. But one thing that is important that we must also begin to address, and addressing them by disclosure, is the exit clause. More and more companies are saying, when I leave the board, you pay me 10 million, and very many times it's not disclosed. It may also not be the case here. You're probably not paying that. But please, let's have an exit clause disclosure in every year that we hold an annual account. If nothing is paid, exit clause. Cadbury does not operate an exit clause. And that puts to pay any speculation. Mr. Chairman, let me close my contribution by saying that if you look at page 43, yes, I know very many Africans who tell you, we don't count our children. But one of the things I've asked a few of them who've said the same thing to me, and then if you didn't count, how come you know the number of children that you have? But what you have decided to do is to extend that adage. No figure for the total shareholding. I can do the calculation, but if there is an error in terms of tabulation from you, I will also take in the same error. So I'll be hoping that going forward, you will disclose the total number of shareholders in the company. That itself will help. But looking at this account, you have over 70,000 shareholders. And one major challenge we've had over the years, which you've also been a beneficiary of, is that a number of shareholders don't attend AGMs. And I'm happy that the first speaker also alluded to that. He won't come if he's not invited sometimes or if he doesn't feel like. But it will be important for us to begin to engage more and more Nigerians via this virtual AGM. So going forward, it may be necessary. If you ask me, I would say it probably should be compulsory that we have both run together. That way, we'll be able to engage more persons who are not available for our meetings, and as well, those who are probably not shareholders, who then may then pick interest in the activity of the company. So it's something I want us to consider, again, looking at the cost implication. Mr. Chairman, if I knew that pictures were going to be this prominent in this account, I probably would have negotiated how much you were to pay for every picture that appeared, because other than making the dividend that you'll be paying at the end of today, I probably will have also earned additional income, because I found that you did display my picture in one of the pages with other shareholders. But now that I know, you've taught me how to make other incomes, and I'll begin to make sure that I put that into practice. On the final note, I want to thank the management and board for what effort they have made, realizing that even with the ban of transport by road of 3-in-1, which is also a major contributor from what I saw in this account, that you had to make sure that the product does come in via the ports. So, but I'm also hoping that come next year, COVID or no COVID, that the dividend that you'll be paying this year will not be lower than the dividend that you'll be paying next year, rather, will not be lower than what you are paying this year. Because I know you, you don't pretend about being a capitalist. I'm sure joining other capitalists on the board, this will become a possibility. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now it's your turn, Mr. Ikeja. But they will clean the microphone first. Okay.
The chairman of the Cadbury PSC, fellow directors, eminent distinguished shareholders, good morning. My name is Ikeja Boniface, the National Chairman, Progressive Shareholders in Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, I want to congratulate you and the board, management, for the higher dividend you are giving out this year as against last year, or 25 kobo, but this year 49 kobo. That's a big one, a very big one indeed. That means we are progressing. Next year it will be bigger. Even though COVID like it or not, it will be bigger. Mr. Chairman, like the last speaker pointed out, that I've been winding down now from other board, I want to appeal to you especially here, that this is not time to live here. If you are living other places, that you are served out, I know you're a man of policy, your own principle, but you must also stay put here to reposition the company very well. The 20 kobo, 49 kobo will not allow you to now to live here until we get back to 1 naira dividend. Because that's what you promised us when we reconstructed shares here. So I'm appealing to you passionately that you might live other places, which I cannot mention here, but this is not time to live here until we have getting higher dividend, until the company is well repositioned that we can say, yes, the version is loud, you cannot take your exit. I'm appealing to you to support that. Dear. Don't be in a hurry to leave. I know some of the policies in this government today is getting annoying. That when you speak out, they turn you for enemy. But instead of pursuing this person, they may have your interest. Where you have interest, I'm going to hammer them. So these are fallout. It's not that you are owed as something that they want to abandon the board. Nigeria needs you, and corporate world needs you. People doesn't value what they have, but when that person exits, we begin to know the worth of that person. And that's why I'm appealing to you as a brother, that this company has started doing well, dividend have returned, but not the way we want this company in terms of dividend payout, in terms of the price of the equity. These are things we need to put in place, that the company is growing leap and bound before you can take your exit on this board. So consider that. It's an appeal. I'm appealing to you. I know you are adhere to that. Mr. Chairman, I want to also commend the board for attendance in page 45, board attendance. But I'm also worried in board committees, subcommittees, like governance and risk committees, that chairman also attend those, Why? Except the Remuneration and Compensation Committee, that you are not available. But other directors can also feed those places, like Mr. Adedetu Suleiman, MFR, also attend all the composition, all the subcommittees. Why? It can be rotated. If he's serving in the Governance Risk Committee, why must he also be in Remuneration Compensation Committees? I see somebody should be able to swap. We have some members of the board that can also attend those committees. Mr. Chairman, we should always consider that, so that give other members board to be able to fit in and contribute their own quota in board attendance. That also good on page 61 of the audit committee members, both the board and the shareholder representative are well attended. That's also commendable. I want to commend you for the board serious attendance in board meetings, formulate policy where management will carry out to drive the business. Mr. Chairman, talking seriously, that when the first speaker mentioned about suddenly closure of the border, yes, the government just took it suddenly. These are never planned. It's never planned. So if anybody captured it, to making a statement, it must suddenly. Because government just suddenly took positions. Even the northern borders are not closed. These are south. 3-in-1 is not manufactured in our plant here, but a sister plant made in Ghana. And Ghana is a neighboring country. Why must you ship through the ship? You know how it takes long here to clear things from the ship in Nigerian wharf. And we close the border. These are things we can bring in by motor, by road, to the factory here and begin to distribute to our distributors. This is not happen. We don't manufacture it. It's not every product we can have in our plant. But those who don't have here, they bring it to others. But those who don't have in Ghana, they take it here. That's how you run a company. But government policies are affecting manufacturers today. But unfortunately, our brother who is on the government side, they don't talk to the government. These are problems we have in this country. I know you have been speaking out of recent to the authorities. Maybe that, as I said earlier, and inform your decisions of, because I don't want to, because of your statement or your process, hurting company, how you have interest. But those people who are sitting and looking, they cannot talk. Life is only one. At somebody's age, you have been fearing not to speak to the authorities. It's very bad. At your age, you must speak out as the truth. And which people today are hating to hear the truth. The border is affecting everybody. Even you can't take the goods out here to a neighboring country. But the Republic don't have plants or such, And it's affecting Nigeria as a giant of Africa. What is our giant today? 0. It's affecting the bottom line performance. We're even thanking God that we're having 49 kobo to share. What if we did not share, or maybe it was lower than what you get last year? We will kill the board members or the management. They are not working hard. We are talking about inventory. If you are manufacturing, you are not selling. And you say receivable. Because you must give credit to your worthy customers. And you cannot manufacture and keep them in the warehouse. It's not possible. That's not good business. When they are not forthcoming, you have to persuade them. You have to give some, carry these things. At least you are credit what you'll be bringing in money when you sell. These are things we are doing in this country. It's not helpful. Government is not helping us. But in terms to collect tax, tax, and you'll be paying. But how you make the money is not their concern. And if you don't pay, they can seal all this place. Government is not helpful at all. Chief Adedotu Alaji, you must speak out to the authority. Help us. Talk to them. You are close to them. Government is not doing well. They're not doing very well. They're not helping us. Manufacturers are dying. And if we don't keep alive, how do we employ people? Government doesn't create jobs. In the way your financial reporting comes, how many people have you employed? That's the problem, you know. Well interested in tax. Mr. Chairman, I also want to say it here on page 49, donations, 4.5 million, our product to IDP, and which was channeled through the United Nations High Commission of Refugees. That's a good one, and nobody can hijack it. I want to commend the company for this policy. At least they are taking it to the appropriate people that these goods are meant for, IDPs. Because I've seen some companies donate. Even the COVID today, even the money the corporate world of companies which were a shareholder donated. We don't see the palliative. We don't see it going around. So he said the government are telling us that it's not even meant for distribution. They are keeping the money. For what? For what? So at least you have made these right donations and taken it to the appropriate authority. United Nations will not divert it. They will take it to people. Who are these concerned? Who the company are those things out, you know? I think that's how it should be. You know, taking it to the right people, to take it to the people who are the recipients of those things. I want to commend the company for that policy. It's a very good one. Mr. Chairman, on page 71 of this account, cost of sales, we need to watch it. Cost of sales, we need to watch it. Last year was 28 billion. Today, 31 billion. We need to watch that. Revenue of 39 billion and cost of sales was 31 billion. That's not good enough. We need to watch that. With also selling distribution expenses, yeah, that wouldn't okay. That was okay, as against 4.7, 5.2 billion. But also here, Mr. Chairman, administrative expenses, we need also watch that, from 1.5 billion to 1.8 billion. We need also watch that. It's getting higher on the day. We need to watch that. If we have made a lot of hundreds of billions and we're able to spend much in driving that business, I know the cost of doing business in Nigeria is not easy. That's the truth. But then we need to watch it. We need to watch that to bring it down so that we don't pay all out in driving that business. Mr. Chairman, on that area on page 101, I don't know now speak on that. On 101, yes, we'll talk about interest income on bank deposit, which is a good one. We didn't pay out to banks. That's a very good one. And I want to also commend the auditors. Their fee not increased, which is a good one. But I have worried here on this royalty and technical services fees. 1.5 billion as against 631 million. Mr. Chairman, that is on the high side. We need to negotiate downward. We need to negotiate downward. It is not when we have some earning higher, then we begin to take away such a huge amount of money in technical fees. Like where they say hungry for more. I don't see most of the products in Nigeria here, in supermarkets. Just our biscuits from the Mondelez. They have a good product, but we don't see it here. That's things they should be able to send in here or manufacture it here at our plant, the technical partners. And when we pay, we know what we are paying for. We must pay for value added. We don't just have to throw money because we're using the brand to sell. It's their company. They invested. So we need to modify these things, what we are paying for. Bring the product, let's manufacture it here. Instead of getting from this place, from this Europe, you know. Mr. Chairman, and if we are paying, we know what we are paying for. The board should be able to look at that and talk it down with them, that shareholders are complaining. We are not happy. We are not happy. Mr. Chairman, on page 102, that talk of, okay, I'll talk on that. I'll talk on that. That's about expenses, energy, utilities, which also going higher. Raw material and packaging materials. Yes, it's on the high side too. We need to get raw materials and what have you. But to have the cocoa powder, that's our own product from our subsidiaries. It shouldn't be high as such, Mr. Chairman. It shouldn't be high as such. If we are buying other things like packaging or product or for, this is what we pay for. Yes, I can agree. I can agree on those areas. As also social expenses. Mr. Chairman, on the page 104, page 104. Mr. Chairman, here I don't understand. Yes, salary went up. I'm not having worry about salary to pay the staff very well who are baking the cake. The chairman also went up this year, the fees, and the directors, also the highest paid directors, came down. What happened? Is it because the one we paid last year, 128 or 117, is it because this one was expatriate and this one was Nigeria, the highest paid director? What happened? On page 104, Mr. Chairman, on the director remunerations shown above, includes the chairman have 9.2, which he should be paid well because the directors are working hard. If the managing director is doing very well, it's not because they're black and will lower the highest pay, what she's taking home pay. And expatriate will be higher. No, Mr. Chairman, we need to look at that, you know. We need to look at that. We need to look at that. Mr. Chairman, I want to comment on this quality annual report. The company secretary have been doing very, very well over the years. We're having issues and that's only a bridge. The person who can get day to day, not even managing director. Every day when we have issues to be cleared and call her, if Fola is in the meeting, she will call back. I think that's how it should be. And they have made it possible for us to be here. The way what is at the gate, like the first speaker said, I think Wenger echoed that, you know. It's a privilege to be here. Not every shareholder will be here today. But you should have not taken also in record those who have been supportive to the company over the years. Whether things are going bad or not, you know. In a critical period like this, you need to select those people also to come and support the company. And think that's what you have done today. That means you have to reflect back on relationship built over the years. I think I have to commend her for what she's been doing. It's very, very important. Mr. Chairman, on page 132, I also have a quarrel here that will have contingent liabilities and commitments, which no provision were made. What if the case go otherwise? Why don't you make provisions? And if the case also come in our favor, we plow back into the cover. We should make provisions. The case can go otherwise, either way. So we also make provisions on those contingent in case anything happen. So we cannot just say, if you happen to be dead, because the court delays process of dispensing justice, it can be there to 10 years. Is that why we are not making provision on these matters? It's always good to make provision in case the court they decide and do that case otherwise. Well, we'll have to pay something. We'll begin to look for money to pay. So if it does nothing happen and we win that case, the money go back to us. So there's no harm in making that provision. I'm urging the management to let us also do that provision, the needful, at the appropriate time. Mr. Chairman, having said that, I don't know how we are going to navigate in this COVID pandemic in terms of sex, because I know restrictions, essential services, which is beverages, to go into the hospitals or elsewhere. But today, police were on the road collecting money, and people will not even come in to carry their goods. But those are listed on essential services. So if COVID is going to be at the end of this year or beyond, how do we also make more money? Well, some of them are working from home, some of their staffs, not to have received fully as such, because it's costing money to us. Even though we're doing few meetings here in the office today, but for us to be here and bring some people, it must cost a lot of money too. So the pandemic is not helping us. It's not helping the world. So we must also find a means of survival so that the company will stay afloat. When you produce, you're able to market to the consumers. The purchasing power is not there for people to even to buy it, to drink and eat. That's the problem we're having. And that's why the lower result. I mean, we thank God that last year was better for us. But this year is going to affect the bottom line, whether we like it or not. That's the truth. And it has to be said. But my prayer is that God will help all of us to navigate this problem and come out stronger at the end of the day. God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Soniwoso, you came late. You're speaking last. We have an order that we established before you arrived. So don't disrupt the proceedings. Madam, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, the members of the board, and my fellow shareholder representing here. My name is Mrs. C.O. Obideyu, National Coordinator of ACOPCO Shareholder Association. Firstly, I'll go to page 3. Mr. Chairman, page 3. I saw mission, but what I expected again. Okay. I saw mission. What I expected again is to see vision, but there's nothing like that. What could have caused it? Secondly, I really congratulate the female, because what a man can do, a woman can do better. For the dividend we collected, I know the page 19, the kind of board we have is mixed up, female and male. And wherever female present, there is no how we'll collect a better dividend. Because shareholders, what they are after is dividend, and they really try because we have a uniform board. I'll go to page 4, sir. The incoming directors and those ones that left, they have done and performed very, very well. 64, page 64. Sorry. I had to demarcate it. So. The external auditor, this is the first time they did not include key audit matter. What happened to it? The external auditor. Can we have an explanation on it? Key audit matters. It was not included. Page 100 and 101. This chewing gum we show in page 100, sir. We have it in Lagos market, Okearin market, Boni Ikorodu Imota, Okearin market, Boni Ikorodu Imota Ijebode. It is not present there, even in Ota. And children love this chewing gum very well. What is happening in the sales? what is the cost of it? When you get to Okeani market, that is open market, you get it there. Other market, but it's not present in Imota, Ikorodu, Ota market. So what could have happened? Page 101. The salary, the revenue. Please, sir, encourage the management and staff to buckle up because our revenue increase. Page 103. Sorry, because of my condition. Are you okay? The increment, page 103, there is increment in the salary of staff. And we reduced 14 employees. What could have happened to that? There is increment in the salary of the staff and management, but we have 14 shortage of staff. I need explanation on it. 136. In our annual report, a lot of our products was shown and is a miss of advertising our products. Anybody can take this annual report and see everything we are doing in Cadbury. Sir, page 19. Let me refer you back to page 19. On this annual report, each picture shows and tells us at the last AGM, that is 54 annual AGM, it shows the shareholder, and in other pages, there is a page that you show us during the during the fasting, those people that purchase our product and take it. Sir, it's really amazing. As we were coming, I saw this green tom-tom. The normal tom-tom we have, our ancient mothers, when you have cough, they believe is medicinal. That when you take the normal tom-tom and bitter cola, it's work for cough. This green one, is there any advertisement on it, or what is the work? The other tom-tom, I went for a lecture, even is a seminar in a church. They said that tom-tom, maybe that's why, medical practitioner, anyway, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I was told that the former tom-tom, guys use it to hide when they take it with lacasera, 5 pieces or 7 pieces of tom-tom with lacasera eye guys. So what is the work of this? And I don't know how, maybe the content or how to reduce what will make our children to be high. I've asked those doctors, they said we should go back to Cadbury, and I'm happy that I'm at the AGM today. I need more explanation on it. I would like to thank our company secretary. People have recommended her very well, and she's doing a good and a better job. There's no time you call her, she will call you back. Whenever she's busy, we appreciate her on that. Thank you very much. Once again, I thank everybody.
Thank you very much, madam. It's only you are the last speaker.
Unfortunately, I cannot be the last born in this hall. So whichever way it goes, the most important thing is to thank Fola and the entire management that empowered her to invite us to this meeting. And I'm happy I'm here despite the fact, because I sent a message across to her that I'll be 15 minutes, 20 minutes late because of another committee. So my friend, for Dotun, I salute you. It's a very long time we have not seen. I'd like to start by congratulating all the new directors, especially the managing director, whom I met, and when she told me about her appointment, I was very happy about that. I know that she's only wearing a black skin. She's more an expatriate in our midst. But whatever happens, we look forward for an improved relationship, improved business, and a better company ahead of us. I'm not going to dwell so much on what other speakers have actually talked about. I want to look at what will give us an edge on our products. Number one, there's a lot of complaint outside there, which I have seen myself, that if you buy a packet of Tom Tom, you will discover that some of the pillows are empty. And this is not giving any cheering news to those who are patronizing us. So sometimes I now ask, what about the standard control, quality control, and all this and that in the system? So we must do a lot to ensure that we reduce the empty pillows in the packet. That's very important. I'm also very worried that this factory, when it came up, with the size of land here, the similar company that has this kind of thing is Daily Times. And it was a discussion between Alhaji Babatunde Jose and Onosode and Co. to have had this large parcel of land that today we're not producing something like buttermint and every other thing that we usually see on the table of AGMs and board meetings. And in fact, some personal usage for these things, they are no longer being produced in this country. I know when we talk about 3-in-1, we have competition in 3-in-1, but even if we are running away from that competitor on 3-in-1, we should produce our Bonvita to be as good as 3-in-1 from Ghana. And that will represent the 3-in-1 that we are now manufacturing here. I recall that 2 occasions I have made mention of this, about the dissolution of Bonvita, like a competitor. So sometimes you put Bonvita in the water, it will still be floating instead of going down to dissolve. So these are some of the challenges we are having in products that we need to do in order to follow up the trend of things. Yes, we have increased our turnover, but I'm quite sure if there are opportunities for the management and board to further increase, they will. Okay. If there are opportunities to be taken by the board and management to increase the turnover of the company and produce results that will be very cheering to shareholders, I'm sure you will not hesitate to do that. So please look into this product line and see how we can improve it. I want to summarize on how we can increase profit we have to look into the administrative costs very well. But I'm not going to pick them one by one because that has been done by some shareholders, so that we can see what we can reduce to make more profit for shareholders. It's a challenging period, but I don't see our sector to face the same challenge that other sectors may be facing. Our sector is a sector that is needed by even those that contacts the coronavirus. And what we need to do is to ensure that we are rendering these services. They say in a situation like this, there are people that it benefits and there are people it does not benefit. But for us, I think it benefits us somehow. Not that we are happy that there's a virus that is killing people, but the fact that our services will be needed is something that must give us a value. Now, I want to ask the chairman again that we are into agricultural subsector. Is there any way we are taking advantage of palliative from government? So that's also very important. I also would like to talk about the reality on page 118 of the annual report. I have seen the analysis there, but there is no indication of percentage, and that is why it increased from less than 700 million to almost 1.6 billion naira. There is need for us to understand what created this increase in the royalty fee. Although you loaded it, said license, this and that and that and that. But there's need for the shareholders to understand that on this area, this is the percentage that we are paying. On the finished goods that we brought in from other places, this is the percentage we are paying, and that will be very helpful to the understanding of shareholders. I must praise this board for the analysis on page, there's analysis which they did here in respect of receivables. There's analysis on receivables, which is very good. It really educates us on the ages of the receivables. The highest is about 30 days there, which shows that we are not allowing receivables to overstay, and that is very good for us. I have talked about 3-in-1, which I believe if we cannot even manufacture it here, we should improve on Bonvita itself to be able to match the quality of 3-in-1 so that Nigerians can take that advantage. I want to talk on unclaimed dividend. Unclaimed dividend, which is also a money that belongs to shareholders, and that money does not in any way belong to the company. And I think there was a talk recently whereby the panel was suggesting that unclaimed dividends should be used to face the issue of coronavirus. Luckily for me, I was on the panel, and I kicked against it that there's a lot of money government can provide, not this unclaimed dividend. Therefore, it is very important that the company secretary and the registrars must do everything possible to publicize the unclaimed dividend for people to understand. We know the problems of unclaimed dividend. Some of this may belong to a demised people who do not expose their investment in companies. But notwithstanding, we should continue to show concern about it, pending when it will be 12 years and it will be returned back to the company that pays it. And I want to say again that unclaimed dividends should not be tampered with by the company. It should remain with the registrars because that's where it is domiciled to. There have been some companies who took back unclaimed dividend in the name of reinvesting it, and that company went under. There's no way we can recover that unclaimed dividend. So at the time the decision was taken that unclaimed dividend should be, part of it should be removed from the registrar, it was a bad decision by a very bad manager. And I don't think up to now there is no law backing such a thing. And I'm looking for a way with other like-minded shareholders where we will continue to push until dividend will be domiciled to the registrars, where we believe they are trained to manage dividend for shareholders. This is very important, and I want to appeal to those of you on this table that you should also help shareholders to do some of this talking. You are very close to the powers that be, so that they will understand that dividend remains with registrars until after 12 years, when it will be returned back to the company that paid it. Unfortunately, SEC that took that action, if you ask them today, they cannot even give you the reason why they took that action. They can't, because before now, they were trying to take over unclaimed dividend and manage it as what they call unclaimed dividend trust fund, which never worked. And I think we should start fighting seriously to ensure that we help the shareholders. Mr. Chairman, Cadbury has done very well. At least we are returning back to where we are supposed to be. But we cannot achieve this without increasing the portfolio of products being produced in this country, so that opportunity will be for our farmers and other people that produces the raw material to be in business. I once again congratulate you for your patience in navigating the affairs of this company to where it is today. I agree with one of the speakers, but you know better. Because if it is the excuse you gave the other place that remains in you, maybe it's giving you a better opportunity to serve humanity. So there is no better joy in anybody than when you are serving humanity and you are seeing it, that what you are doing is helping human beings on this earth. But however, in anything you choose to do, I wish you God blessings. So also to every director of Cadbury, I pray that by the time we shall meet here again, whether pandemic or no pandemic, we will have cause to rejoice that we are getting back a better return from our investment. I once again salute the company secretary, and I pray that the powers given to you by the directors will not be misused by you, because that's the problems we're having in this world. God bless all of us. God bless Cadbury and Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, all the shareholders who have spoken. I think you have also spoken for those who are not here. I am going to attempt to answer some of the questions, and a few I have given over to the MD to answer, because she's better placed to provide the level of detail that you're asking for. But some other things, we will just say that we've noted the comments. Every single thing that has been said has been noted. There's some things that are not worth arguing over. Somebody mentioned something you should look at. We note it and then we go and look at it. We have to be humble enough to go and look at it again and wonder why it's being brought to our attention to look at it. So a few comments that I will make before I hand over to the MD. First of all, I want to thank all of you for the very good, useful comments and questions. They were very, some of them were very thought-provoking. Somebody asked us why the revenue went up, but results from operating activities came down. That is a fact, and we are reporting the facts as they are. So it's among the things that the MD will explain a bit, but the details are there in the results. We know which areas we were able to hold costs down and which areas we could not. But the comment I will make is that, you see, if you think that whenever revenue goes up, your results from operations must go up, then you are really propounding a theory in economics and business that says that you can pass on every cost increase. The reality is that for many companies in Nigeria, the market is so weak that when you try and pass on a cost increase, a very price increase, the consumer resists you. And for those of you, I know many of you who are in the room are experienced, you know a number of major multinationals that actually increased prices and had to go back and lower the prices because the market rejected the price increase. So sometimes what happens is that when the market is bad, your margins get squeezed. If you try and maintain the same margin and pass it all on to the consumer, you may end up selling nothing. The resistance can be so fierce, especially if your competitor decides not to do the same thing. As in this case, you know, Bonvita competes head-on with Milo. If we go and try and pass on every cost increase and Nestle decide not to do the same, the consumer will just be encouraged to switch over. So you have to be careful so that margins being squeezed are not unique to our business. It's something that you have to take on sometimes and suffer. There was a comment about the land borders, whether they were closed suddenly or not. See, the truth is that, if you can see from my resume here on the annual report, I'm also a member of the Industrial Council, which is headed by the VP. I can tell you that land closures has been discussed for almost 2 years. It's something that some people were lobbying for. Those who their businesses will be impacted positively by border closure. When something is being discussed for 2 years, you don't know whether it will come. Nobody knows. Even those lobbying for it don't know whether they will succeed. Then one day suddenly it arrives. That's all we are describing. Some of us tried our best to argue against it. Because if you think about land closure as in our 3-in-1 product, the logic of the border closure is to say that some people are smuggling. What they're doing is illegal. Instead of facing them directly, you want to punish everybody, including those like Cadbury, who are doing everything legally and correctly, exporting from Ghana to Nigeria, sending out products from Nigeria, all done legally and properly. So you punish everybody. So the argument was that, is it fair to punish everybody instead of going to find a way to face the smugglers head on? So the land closures has punished everybody, including Cadbury. Please, when I say punish everybody, even those in government, we try and explain to them. Think about it yourself. What can be easier than loading products onto a truck and driving from Accra straight to Lagos versus loading on the same truck? You go to Tema or a port, you offload, you then wait for a ship, you then pay to load back onto the thing to take to the ship. You then come to Apapa, you offload, you then pay for. So by the time you finish, the cost is a lot more, the journey is a lot longer, and we can't pass on all those costs. What more can we do to cocoa in terms of value addition? That's a good question, something that the board is always considering. But our Bonvita is value addition to cocoa. And the cocoa we use is from Nigeria. So I think the issue is that there are more areas, but not all of them are easy scientifically. As an example, people keep on asking me every day on the street, why don't you produce chocolate? Have you also seen on WhatsApp what happens? Many times people go and show you an image on WhatsApp of chocolate that they found in a shop that has maggot inside. It's not from us. It's the shopkeeper that went to import chocolate. So the point is that we can only get into things like chocolate if we know that we can bring it out and sell it, and it is safe for the consumer. Chocolate is very difficult to handle in an environment with heat, and there's lots of work going on heat-resistant chocolate. Until you get a product that is stable, we cannot go into it with the name of Cadbury Nigeria, only to have consumers complaining that what they bought from us was a health hazard. So that's just one example, but there are many others. But the point is taken that we are constantly, the board, thinking about how to expand the portfolio of products. Somebody said, why can't we produce gum in Nigeria? Again, my answer is that we can't produce everything. Everything that we produce, the ones that clearly we have an advantage in producing. And producing everything also means investing in machinery for everything. You have to decide the ones where you see a big turnover and volume advantage, and you can produce most effectively at a competitive price. Somebody said we should list complaints that have been made against the company. We'll note that. We can't argue about that. I keep on telling people that in annual reports, the story of annual reports for companies, if you look at them, people like you who are experienced, you notice that the number of pages every year goes up. It never comes down. Because every year somebody comes and mentions something new that it will be good to disclose. You know, so that you then add it on again. So nobody comes and says, please stop disclosing something. So as you add disclosures, you get more and more pages. So we'll note that anything that's useful to disclose, we will disclose. Somebody asked the question, do we have Nigerians in other countries? I personally know one or two myself, but it's not something that we should focus on so much in this meeting. The important thing is that do we have enough Nigerians who are being trained as part of this company and this group who can rise to higher positions? And the answer is an emphatic yes, all the way up to the MD. The MD, among the things she will explain is this increase in royalties. It's not what you think, but she will give you the answer. It's a distortion caused by the fact, I believe, that the provision is for more than 1 year. Yeah, it was caused by a change in accounting rules from the FRC. So what you're seeing is 2 years provision versus 1 year provision before. She will explain all that. Then the comment has been noted. They finished praising you, but at the same time, they were finding fault with you. Somebody said that there's no need to mention dividend warrants again in your annual report because there are no more warrants. Okay, so it's only, that's a point just to note and take correction. Again, we were told to disclose total number of shareholders. Again, it will never do any harm. As of 31st December, number of shareholders in total was XYZ. If people want it and we have the information, we can share it. Definitely, it's with first registrars. They know the number of shareholders. So every year we can put the exact number. Somebody said board committees. Why are the same people on every committee? The answer is that by the time you remove the executives, this is not a large board. By the time you remove the executives, the remaining NEDs are so few that by the time you share them around, you'll find that it's the same people doing almost everything. The alternative is to have a very large board, which costs money, and for a company our size, we think that on balance, you're better off handling a board that is manageable and affordable, and make the directors do more things than to put back on many more directors, which also involves costs. Somebody said government is not helping us. Another person asked for palliatives. I think if you wait for palliatives from government, you wait a very long time. So as option, if anything, government expects people like us to give palliatives to the poor. That's the appeal. So you wait a very long time. So let's just assume that we're on our own. And thank you for the comments commending us for making donations to various groups, including IDPs. Yes, it's true that there's no interest expense, but I don't think we can promise that will be the case every year going forward. Sometimes you need overdraft, your activities force you to go beyond your own resources, and then you have to borrow money. The converse is to hurt your operation. Somebody observed that there's a mission statement but no vision. Again, we'll think about adding something about the vision of the company. It's what I mean by more and more additions. Somebody said, apart from listing who we pay royalties to, can we put the percentage, that is how the amount is calculated? Some companies put it, some don't. I think it's something we'll consider. If there's a formula and it's 2% of something and the other, if you disclose it, then everybody can work it out themselves and not ask you how you arrived at that figure. So there are arguments for and against, but we'll look at all that. Somebody said improve quality of Bonvita, so it will be same as 3-in-1. Look, there are two different products. Two different products. And unless I'm wrong, please correct me, the MD. 3-in-1 is more expensive for the consumer. So it's not true that everybody who can afford 3-in-1 So that everybody can afford Bonvita, can afford 3-in-1. 3-in-1 is for rich people like Chief Mosu and all those people who can afford it. If you expect Bonvita is the cheaper product, you follow me? Some people can't afford 3-in-1. So our business is good. We are catering for different segments. Don't expect the poorest of the poor to buy 3-in-1. They're not going to buy it. It's too expensive. You follow me? So I know that you have been consuming 3-in-1, and that's why you enjoy the taste, and you can tell the difference between that and Bonvita. But that's because you're a rich man, so you can afford it. So please buy more of it. You will help our sales to go up. You know, so then somebody said, yes, unclaimed dividends, always going to feature in every annual report, but it's something the MD will explain. I think there was a comment about we didn't disclose the amount. But the principle about unclaimed dividends and the fact that it's in our books, we have control over it, and the structure and the format is that no matter how long it takes, if the rightful owner comes up in future, they will get their money. The last comment I will make is about this issue about, again, increasing the portfolio of products. You know, I've explained it before. I'm not saying that therefore it's always right, but it's not unique to Cadbury. Every Nigerian subsidiary of a major multinational, your tasks, having a parent that has a broad range of products is an advantage, but you've got to pick products carefully from that broad portfolio because some of them are not relevant to Nigeria, or they may look relevant, but if you bring them here, they will fail. And we are not arrogant. We don't have a problem pointing out at examples of failure before. I believe some years ago, those of you remember, we had Tang out there, not so? We had Tang. Do we have Tang now? We don't have it. Why? If you bring something to Nigerians and they don't want to consume it, will you flog them? You must be convinced that the effort to market the thing, to promote it, is showing results. So let's compare two new products. Tang. Tang involves what? You take a sachet, you add water, not so, and people can drink it, a cold drink. 3-in-1, a sachet, add hot water, you drink it. Nigerians chose to drink 3-in-1. They chose to reject Tang. You must follow the market. You follow me? If anything, so that, the consumer will vote with his feet. Some things they will, meanwhile, Tang does very well in some countries. Yeah. But in Nigeria, it didn't fly. And if something is not flying and you see all the signs, sometimes you better just take your losses than to push it. Or indeed, the money you're using to push Tang, we're using that same money now to push 3-in-1, where you are a consumer. And I bet you yourself never drank Tang. So you also reflect the Nigerian preference. You are drinking 3-in-1, but you didn't drink Tang. So that's why we have to be careful to choose things that after some pilots or marketing and see whether it's going to fly, you know. Because pursuing something that is being rejected is a waste of money. When something else you bring will just fly immediately. And please, you know, we also welcome feedback. I remember the last AGM, one of the shareholders admonished the board, and I repeated it at the board meeting, saying that this board is so useless that she wants to buy 3-in-1, and that when she goes to the market, she can't even find it. Of course, if we told the MD that people are complaining that they want to buy this, they can't even find it. Of course, at the beginning, the demand was more than the supply. So people were frustrated, you know, by they couldn't find enough of the 3-in-1. But hopefully, with time, you catch up, you know, because a new product, the quantities you bring, don't forget on the first day, the inventory level everywhere in Nigeria is 0. So when a shop gets 100 units, and within a few days they've sold all, it will go back to 0. So you have to keep on supplying until everybody has an inventory level, and they can be selling and then restocking. To the MD to handle those questions that I've left for her. You know, I deliberately left the most difficult questions for her. When you have an able MD, you can afford to do that. So over to you, Yimika.
Thank you, Chairman. So I just want to latch on to the last statement around 3-in-1 and just reconfirm to the shareholders that 3-in-1 is actually already has milk and sugar in it, and you add hot water. Whereas Bonvita, while it has a little bit of milk and a little bit of sugar in it, you still need to want to put something to your taste. With 3-in-1, all you do is add water. So consequently, it's a little bit more expensive. Also, 3-in-1, in terms of our portfolio, is treated as a treat, whereas Bonvita is functional. So children will drink Bonvita for brain energy, for nutrition, whereas 3-in-1 is like a treat. It's something that an adult would take in the evening or in the afternoon just to calm yourself. So we position them differently, but they're both big products in our portfolio. To the specific questions that the chairman has kindly passed on to me to respond to, I'll start with the easier ones. The question around why no key audit matters. If you look at the auditor's report, and I'm responding on behalf of the auditors, so we may be getting a discount on our fees next year. On page 64, they have noted as the last statement there that we have determined that there are no key audit matters to communicate in our report. So there are no key matters to communicate. The other question around capital work in progress, what is in capital work in progress? At the end of December 2019, we brought some equipment, new equipment into the factory with intention for installation to happen December into January. Obviously, once the installation was not completed at the end of the year, it goes into capital work in progress. It will be, once it is commissioned, then it goes into proper capex. Until it is used by the company and is waiting to be commissioned, it would have to sit in capital work in progress. Obviously, in 2020, when we commission the equipment, it will now sit as a proper fixed asset and will be depreciated accordingly. There was a question around unclaimed dividend not being disclosed. If you kindly turn to page 120, sorry, not page 120, page 118, let me start with page 118. The note A about dividend payable there, you'll see at the bottom a statement that is disclosed that says, as at the year end, a total amount of 78.5 million naira. In 2018, it was 76.3 million naira was held in the company's registrar. So it's with the registrar, and that is the amount representing unclaimed dividends. So the amount is there. I think the point may be that maybe we should disclose the list of unclaimed dividends with names that we have, and we do have this information, and we can provide it, probably going forward, put it on our website as well for people to access and see the details there. That would be something that we would embark upon to do. If we put it on our website, at least people can access it. The question around technical services and royalty, the chairman had actually answered the question, but for the sake of clarity, the Financial Reporting Council historically had said that you're not allowed to put in your accounts a liability for technical fees and royalty until you get an approval from NOTAP. This rule was reversed last year in 2019. So in 2019, obviously, the fees that had been approved, which relates to 2018, and the one yet to be approved for 2019 were both accrued in the same year. Whereas historically, you could only accrue for what was approved. And we all know NOTAP doesn't approve immediately. Approvals usually take between 9, sometimes a whole year. So by the time you are charging it into your books, historically, you are charging a year behind. In 2019, we essentially played catch-up, and we consequently have 2018 and 2019 charged in the same 1 year. That alone, obviously, when you have 2 years' worth of charge in 1 year, applies, and we'll probably respond to the question that was asked earlier on about operating income, when we said, why, if revenue is going up, why is operating income lower? That is because we had to charge 2 years. We played catch-up, so for 2020 and beyond, we would be charging 1 year at a time, and therefore, that reflection will correct what is there. The final question that the chairman has passed on to me is to just explain what we mean by nutrition and healthy lifestyle in our CSR. So as a global company, one of the things we're very particular about is healthy well-being. We talk about snacking right, and we talk about making sure that our consumers are consuming the right products. And we felt as a business that it was also important for us to ensure that children, who eventually are the biggest snackers in the world, also are doing the right thing. So as part of our CSR, we go to schools using certain companies that help us to do this and educate children on all the nutritional values of every vitamin, vitamin A, B, C, the minerals and the nutrients. And also tell them what nutrients are in which food that they eat. Also, what nutrients are in our own brands, what minerals are in our own brands. And we've done this across quite a few schools in Lagos, and we're carrying this across a few other states as well, just to educate children and make them understand that whatever they eat is part of what makes them. So this is what we mean by nutrition and healthy lifestyle. I think those are all the questions.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly be informed that in exercise of the powers conferred on me by virtue of Section 224 1A of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, I hereby call on a poll on items 2 to 5 on the agenda. Thus, voting for these resolutions will be taken electronically, so that those who are not physically present can also be represented and have their votes cast. The second item on the agenda is to declare a dividend. Your directors are recommending to shareholders a dividend in the sum of 912,256,000, which translates to 49 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo. May I ask a shareholder to move the following motion: that a dividend of 49 kobo per share, amounting to the sum of 912,256,000, based on the financial statements of the company for the year ended 31st December 2019, be and is hereby declared, subject to the deduction of the appropriate withholding tax. Can the shareholder please move the motion? The lady, please, is there a microphone you can take to her, or you have to get up again? Madam, you have to get up. Oh. Since you decided to move the motion, the microphone is in front. Don't worry, take your time. Okay, you moved the motion. We've heard your voice. Great. Thank you. Yes, she knows your name. You have a name, don't you? Or you can carry the microphone to her. Okay, thank you. When you carry it halfway and stop, somebody has to second the motion. So who will you carry it to now? The person with the loud voice should please second the motion. With a loud voice, second the motion. Okay. Thank you. I will now put the resolution to the meeting. So everybody has 30 seconds to vote. Please vote now. The registrars will announce the result of the voting. Those in favor, you know what to do. And those against, you know what to do. Do you need to advise anybody of what they have to do? Have you opened the poll so that they can vote? You press 1 if you are voting in favor. You press 1 if you are voting in favor. So first registrar, tell us when the voting is. To declare a dividend for and against. The poll is open.
Countdown. Nine seconds left. 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Result. Please note that the result will include the one sent in by proxies before now. We have a total of 201 shareholders present, including proxies, voting for and none against. In terms of shareholding, 1,413,350,721 shares voted for. 100% of votes cast. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So based on this result, which is unanimous, I hereby declare that the resolution to declare a dividend of 49 kobo per share, subject to withholding tax, has been passed. The next item on the agenda is to elect or re-elect directors. Firstly, pursuant to Section 249(1) of CAMA and Article 93 of the company's M&A, Mr. Nigel Parsons was appointed as a director to fill the casual vacancy left by the resignation of Mr. Gawad Abaza. Pursuant to Section 2492 of CAMA, may I ask a shareholder to move the following motion? Sorry, you cannot see Mr. Nigel Parsons, but you can see his face in the annual report. But he's it's available online. Can somebody move a motion in favor? You can stand up and use the microphone. It's safer. Don't pass it from hand to hand. Let him go and stand in front of it. It's safer. So you don't touch the microphone.
I write to second the motion. Okay, Zia Boniface.
Any seconder, please. You are moving, but okay, but you wanted you to move. Then somebody else will second.
I rise to move the motion, Mr. Kezia Boniface.
Thank you. So can we have somebody to second, please? Please rise and second. Let us have your name for the records.
My name is Benga Idowu. I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. I will now put the resolution to the meeting for voting. You have 30 seconds to cast your votes. Registrars, please take over, supervise the voting, and announce the results.
Please press 1 for and 2 against. Hand down. Three seconds more. 2 seconds. Remember that we are adding those who have voted via proxies before now. At the end of the election, we had 200 people voting for both proxies and shareholders here present, none against. In terms of shareholding, 1,403,350,782 units, representing 100% of shareholders and proxies present and voting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Based on these results, I hereby declare that Mr. Nigel Parsons has been elected as a director unanimously. The next motion now, secondly, pursuant to Section 2591 of CAMA and Article 88 of the company's M&A, Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman and Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika retire at this AGM and being eligible have offered themselves for re-election. We will take them one by one since there are only two of them. May I ask that the shareholder move the following motion that Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, who retires at this AGM in accordance with Article 88 of CAMA and Section 251, Article 88 of the company's M&A and Section 259 of CAMA, and who is being eligible for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Can somebody move that motion, please? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
I'd like to move for the re-election of Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman to the board. My name is Sir Sonenwoso, KSS.
Thank you. Can somebody please second the motion?
Chairman, Nonawo is my name. I do second because we have something similar. Thank you.
Okay, so first registrars, can we have the votes, please? Those in favor.
If you are voting for, press 1. If you are voting against, press 2. Countdown. 9 seconds left. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Poll is over. Result, please. 200 shareholders and proxies voting for, none against. In terms of shareholding, 1,13,350,778,000 units of shares voting for, which represents 100% of shareholders and their proxies present and voting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So that motion too is carried unanimously. Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman is hereby re-elected. Can we now move on? The next director is Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, who retires at this AGM and is eligible for re-election. May I ask a shareholder to come forward and move the motion that she be re-elected as a director of the company? Yes, sir.
My name is Benga Ido. I move for the election of Mrs. Bukwawosika as a director of the company.
Thank you very much. Second, Mr. Okezie.
I hereby second the motion that Mrs. Awosika be elected as director of our company. Okay, Zia Boniface.
Okay, first registrars, can we go to the voting? Those in favor?
If you're in favor, you press 1. If you are against, you press 2. Voting starts now. Countdown. 9 seconds left. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is over. Result, please. 200 shareholders and proxies voted for, none against. 200, that is 100%. In terms of shareholding, 1,413,350,778 units of shares voting for, none voted against. 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. It has again carried unanimously, so Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika is hereby re-elected. The fourth item on the agenda is to authorize the directors to determine the remuneration of the external auditors. I hereby move the following motion: that the directors be and are hereby authorized to determine the remuneration of the external auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who have indicated their willingness to continue in office as the auditors of the company. Would the shareholder please rise to second the motion? Madam, you can second the motion. Use a loud voice. Okay. Your name was there before, so it's recorded again. She seconded the motion. So can we now put this to vote that directors be and are hereby authorized to determine the remuneration of the auditors? Over to you, first registrars.
Thank you. Press 1 if you are voting for, 2 if you are voting against. Countdown. 9 seconds left. You are still voting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Result, please. At the end of the voting, we had 201 shareholders and proxies voting for, which gives us 100%, none against. In terms of shareholding, 1,413,348,708 units, representing 100% of shareholders and proxies voting for and none against. 100%. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Again, unanimous. So the directors will fix the remuneration of the auditors. The fifth item on our agenda is to elect the members of the audit committee. The board of the company has nominated the following directors as members of the audit committee from our own side. They are Sunil Patasarathi, Adedotun Sulaiman, and Ibukun Awoshika. We received 30 valid nominations from the shareholders initially, but luckily, eventually, 27 of them have withdrawn, leaving only 3 valid nominations. The 3 nominees are number 1, Awobode Oyelaki Lanre. Number 2, Sofolaho Mary Joke. And number 3, Begbaje Elizabeth M. So these are the only 3 nominees. For the sake of clarity and for the avoidance of doubt, please note that the provisions of CAMA on the right to demand a poll on the election of audit committee members provides as follows, but all this is not relevant in this case, since we only have 3 nominees and they are unopposed. So unless anybody objects, I hereby move the following motion that we accept the only 3 nominees unopposed. And anybody objecting? No. So it's unanimous that 3 of them have been re-elected. Sorry, they stand re-elected since there's nobody else. So there's no election. Yep. So I therefore confirm that the 3 remaining nominees now make up the audit committee. So please let us congratulate them. Clap for them, those of them who have survived it. So, just to keep the record straight, may I now present to you the full list of the names of the audit committee members for the 2020 financial year. The 6 members will be Pastor Oyelaki Lanre Awobode, Mrs. Mary Joke Shofolaho, Mrs. Elizabeth M. Begbaje, Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, Director, Mr. Adedotun Sulaiman, MFR, Director, Mr. Sunil Patasarathi, Director. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of the agenda for today. I thank you all for attending this unique AGM and now declare the 55th Annual General Meeting of Cadbury closed. Thank you for your attention.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It doesn't just disguise them, it gives you real minty breath.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1, a delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water.
The power of cool. Yeah, dial it back for a minute to the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do. Cause when I come through, I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Son, being good at something requires strength. It requires pushing yourself. It requires putting in more. That's why the new improved Bonvita is packed with vitality and a richer, creamier taste.
Floret's chewing gum neutralizes bad odor. It